Hello, my name is Athenia Rodney, CEO and founder of Juneteenth NYC. Are you looking for something fun to do for Juneteenth weekend? Well, look no farther. This is a special invitation for you to attend the most exciting event of 2023 with Juneteenth NY. We're thrilled to announce that this year's celebration promises to be bigger and better than ever before. Join us for an unforgettable experience filled with a wide array of exciting performances, delightful vendors, mouth-watering food trucks and vendors, an exclusive fashion show, a rally at Barclays Steps, a free bus ride with health drink tastings, don't miss that, a dope flash mob that's going to be on Saturday, and Juneteenth flag raising. Don't forget, we'll also have a lively music band and some other performances that will get your feet tapping or palancing, whatever is in your spirit to do. For those of you with little ones, don't worry, we've got you covered also. Juneteenth NY 2023 is the event for all ages. We'll be featuring a dedicated kids zone so that your young ones can join in on the fun. The Brooklyn Nets and Liberty will be doing basketball clinics. The New York Knicks and the Rangers will be doing hockey clinics. And we will have story time, competitive games on the field, and free game giveaways. We'll also have a Black History quiz competition. So make sure you bring a charged phone, and most school attendants will win a special prize. So make sure to get your school involved. So why wait? Grab your free tickets. Yes, free. It doesn't cost anything, but we do need you to register so that we can prepare for the amount of people that will be in attendance on the weekend. So we look forward for you to go to our website at www.juneteenthny.com, or you can go to our Instagram at JuneteenthNY, like us, follow us, engage with our page. We'd love to see you participating. It warms my heart. Trust me, it does. And then go to our link tree and you'll get a direct link to register. This will be a monumental occasion. We can't wait to see you there. Thank you and have a good one. Bye.
Greetings, and good afternoon, Juneteenth family. How are y'all doing out there? Oh man, we are almost at the very end of May. Can you all believe it? Well, today we are joined by an amazing sister of mine, Miss Cassey Mapp-Ahmed. She is the CEO and founder of Village Sis Doula LLC, and she's here to talk to us about ways that we can improve the birth, maternal, and infant health crisis. I'm so excited to have this conversation for so many different reasons. Our community that Cassey and I are a part of are in this conversation all over the place, whether we're on the outskirts or deep diving and doing the work. So let's bring Cassey on up and let's dive in. Hey Cassey, how you doing today?
Peace and blessings, sis. Thank you so much for having me today.
Such an honor to have you today. It's always a pleasure to be in your calm and peaceful presence. Your voice has always soothed me whenever you're in a space that I'm in. So, and your energy. So it's just a pleasure to have you here. So before we dive into our conversation, I'll share that Cassey's a doula. And she has this amazing doula company. And would you share with the community what actually a doula actually does? And tell them a little bit about your practice as a doula, and then we'll dive in from there.
Yes, well, what is a doula? A doula is someone who provides non-medical services. I don't catch babies, so I clarify that. But we provide that physical, emotional, and spiritual support. And most importantly, with Village Sis Doula, that education. Education is empowering. And doulas, it has been, research has shown, the World Health Organization has also shown the benefits of having a doula there to support birthing individuals. And with Village Sis Doula, we strive to use a community asset-based approach, and we'll go in more detail about what that is. But our village, it truly takes our village. We have so many talents and gifts in our village, and How can we actually use those assets in our own community to benefit not only the birthing person, but also the community as a whole too as well? And one thing we'll speak about too as well in the presentation is social determinants of health. There's a lot of factors that relates to specifically the maternal health in the Black and Brown community. There's a lot behind that. So therefore, there's a lot of significance behind why it truly takes a village. It's going to take more than one person. There's a lot of different factors that are ingrained into the outcome of Black maternal health and also the health and wellness of our community as a whole.
You know, the emotion that is in my chest right now, just listening to all that was said. Again, being that we are part of this conversation, I know exactly what all of that entails. So I really look forward to sharing this with the community today. So before we go any further, I just want to acknowledge that we have some sisters in the audience with us today. Nye just dropped by and she said she's happy that she can be here for this important conversation. And Sabrina says her beautiful sisters looking lovely in blue. I was actually looking at that. I said, oh, wow, look at the alignment. We're here in the same colors today.
Yeah.
And it's divine. So you direct us, Cassey. Are you ready to dive into the presentation, or would you like to do a little conversating and then come back? I think we should go to the presentation so that way we
Yes.
have a lot of information given before we dive into our combo.
Yes, I agree.
All right, super cool. All right, Keisha, we're ready for you.
And as we discussed, my name is Cassey Mapp-Ahmed. Often people refer to me as Classy Cassey, and I'm the CEO and founder of Village Sistula LLC, and it truly takes a village. On the next slide, it gives some brief information about the overall mission of Village Sistula. Our mission basically is to reduce the infant and maternal mortality, specifically in the Black and Brown community, and how it's also insignificant to use a culturally sensitive doula care, right? Having someone who has that awareness of your culture in the Black and Brown community, and also using a community asset-based approach, which I briefly spoke about earlier, and also the complexities of the social determinants of health and how that also impacts the maternal and infant mortality in our community, and also our overall health and wellness overall. On the next slide, too, which I briefly explained, is what is a doula? Some people are not informed about what is a doula. I had a client, her grandmother said, "Baby, what is a doula?" So, given that brief information of what a doula is, and here, a doula, as I already explained, provides that emotional, physical, and spiritual support, and most importantly, that education. With my clients, before they even go into labor, I give education about what's going on with your body, how to advocate for yourself. I don't advocate for my clients, but giving them the educational tools to empower them of how to educate for themselves and their family as a whole. On the next slide too as well, which is has a lot of different complexities and arrows and circles, but this gives a basic overview of the complexity as it relates to Black maternal health. A lot of individuals ask, why are the numbers as it relates to our community the way they are? But there's a lot of complexities around that. As you look into, as research has stated, structural racism has an impact as it relates to maternal infant mortality in our community. It doesn't matter how much money you make or where you live, right? So this is a great diagram. I don't remember where the source came from for this diagram, but I love how it displays the complexity as it relates to specifically in this conversation, Black and maternal health. As you see here, some of the key areas that are focused are in the square areas as it relates to slavery, Jim Crow, the GI Bill, redlining, and the 13th Amendment, right? How that complexity in the United States and the impact that it had in our community has had and currently has in our community as a whole, and then how that goes into the complexity as it relates to generational wealth and food stability and education and housing and access to care, rates of incarceration, safety, neighborhood demographics. There's so much complexity involved in the overall uh, outcome of Black maternal health, but also the health and wellness overall as it relates to the Black and Brown community. So, why does it truly takes a village? As you see, there's a lot of complexity as it relates to the different areas in our community. So, community asset-based approach, using the assets in our community to address these different areas in our community to not only support the womb of the birthing community, but also the village, the community, and where our babies grow up too as well. Right? So on the next slide here, as I stated, that diagram, which is very complex, but I'm a visual person. I like to see things visually, and it gives some insight. That previous slide could be a presentation in itself. But this here just brings out some information about how research has showed that that the United States has the worst maternal health outcomes of all developing nations, too. And a lot of people ask why, right? So on that previous slide, it gives some information about the complexity of the history here in the United States and how it has impacted the Black and Brown community, okay? The results of the maternal health crisis of Black mothers has shown to be impacted by structural and systematic racism. The previous slide that I had briefly gone into gives some insight about how that structural and systematic racism has impacted the Black and Brown maternal infant mortality and also the health outcomes in our community as a whole, right? Data shows that in 2020, Black and Brown birthing individuals are 3 to 4 times more likely, 3 to 4 times more likely to die due to pregnancy-related complications and compared to white birthing individuals. And that doesn't matter how much money you make or where you live, right? And I gave some insight into some of the areas the evidence and research has shown to have an impact as it relates to those outcomes. I have here, what is your birth story? So that is something else that we can share. Because one reason I do what I do is because when I gave birth to my son, the birthing experience was not ideal for the experience I wanted to have. I wasn't aware of all my options and the support and different resources that are available for me. And a lot of the birthing stories I hear in my community are the same. It wasn't what they wanted, expected, or they deserved, right? A lot of the birthing experience has even been traumatic, right? So sharing your stories, your voice is very important too as well. The next slide. And as I discussed earlier, there's multiple factors that contribute to these disparities that I have spoken of the Black and Brown maternal and infant mortality. Lower quality of health care, medical bias in the medical system, structural racism, right, too, as well as I gave a brief insight as it was shown in that diagram, implicit bias from healthcare providers, and underlying chronic conditions, and that is information from the Centers of Disease Control. Okay. Inequitable policies due to structural and interpersonal discriminations have also contributed to these outcomes. So once again, there's a lot of factors that contribute to these different areas as it relates to the maternal health in our community. Having that research and information is important. Hearing the voice of our community is important, but also for us to come together as a village and say, what can we do to support not only the babies that are coming in our world, the wombs who are carrying our babies, but also the community who are carrying and bringing up our children and our babies in our future. So how has these factors impacted your community? So as I speak about these different issues and the complexities, a lot of times people or individuals are not aware of the historical impact that the United States and the country has had on our overall health and wellness. So a question I have here is, how has these factors impacted your community? How do you see this impact? How has it, or how have you noticed these factors impacting your community? And what role can you make to make changes to improve your community and the future of your community? Next slide, please. Now, as it relates to doula, now I'm so glad that there's more information and more knowledge of what the significance of doulas and what doulas can do to support birthing individuals. There has been different policies and different things put into place to provide more support for doulas. But there has been a lack of doula support in minority populations. Research has stated across all social demographics because there's a need for more minority birth workers, Black and brown birth workers, but not only birth workers, there's more diversity in the healthcare setting overall, right? A lot of my clients, even myself, as I'm carrying and holding my 8-month-old baby girl, I felt more comfortable with having a medical team who looks like me, right? So, and who have the cultural awareness to really provide me with the support and care that I wanted and what I was searching for. So, research has shown that there is a need for more diversity in the healthcare field. So, if you're looking to be a doula, we need you in our community, we need you in our village, and also we need more midwives too as well. There's a difference between a doula and a midwife. I wanted to bring that to as well, clarify. Doulas do not provide medical services, but however, a midwife is specifically trained to provide medical services, okay? Unfortunately, the risk of infant mortality is the highest among minority families, Black and brown families. Therefore, there is a need for birth workers who serve primarily our communities too as well. So if you're interested in being a birth worker, we need you. We need you in our communities. Research shows the benefits of birth workers in our community, and it's so needed. Next slide, please. The reality of the Black and infant mortality health crisis in America has called for systematic change. It truly takes a village. I'm so blessed. Even my sis who invited me today, all the birth workers who are actively in this movement. This is a mission. This is a movement. And it's going to take work from all of us at different levels. As that graph I had showed, it goes into so many different levels. It goes into the government level, the community level, housing, so many different levels. So it truly takes a village. But I am very excited that there is so much movement made as it relates to policies and change from that level to provide more support to improve the outcomes of Black maternal and infant health in our community, specifically in the Black and brown community. So the policymakers to make Black and maternal health a priority for the medical providers, health professionals, and community as a whole. And one question I place here is, how may your community support Black maternal health? So it doesn't matter what you look like, right? This is going to take everyone to play a part in a role to improve maternal health, but especially the Black and brown maternal health. And what role can you take? What can you do? Okay, next slide, please. Now, I mentioned about the different policies and different things are taking place in action that is occurring right now. And it's going to continue to require all of us to be involved, to speak with the policymakers, our community, hospital, all these different levels to keep the momentum going. Your voice is very important. But one area I specifically want to speak on is the Black Maternal Health Act, right? It was established with the policymakers in Congress, such as Representative Adams, to establish a 12-part bill to address the existing legislation gaps to improve the Black maternal health crisis in the United States. Additional efforts that has been placed has been the White House blueprint for addressing the maternal health crisis, as well as the request of $470 million toward effectively improving the maternal health outcomes for the fiscal year of 2023 President's budget, right? So these are some of the actions that are taking place. However, it's still going to take all of us collectively to continue to push and ensure that these actions are taking place actively and sustainably in our community. Next slide, please. Now, this is some of the information from the President's budget, right? One thing that has been extremely beneficial for my clients, however, it's going to take a lot of continuous support from our community, because even though this is here, things are changing for the good or for the bad. So one thing is the Medicaid coverage for 12 months postpartum. That has been beneficial for my clients. However, there is change in that area where that may not be consistent. So therefore, that's just an example of how our voice and actions are very important to keep the momentum for the positive change in our community for Black maternal health, but also for the health and wellness of our community as a overall. So this slide just demonstrates some of the changes that were put in place with the President's budget proposal in 2023. Next slide, please. It truly takes a village. I said a lot in a short period of time, but I want to give insight into the overall mission of Village Doula to improve the maternal health, specifically in the Black and Brown community, as the research and data shows that there is a crisis as it relates to maternal health in our community. And it truly is going to take a village. This is a mission, my beautiful baby in my arms, that's going to take all of our support to improve, okay? Community asset-based approach, what does that mean? All of us have talents and gifts, right? How can you use your talent to support the wellness of our community? Because not only improving the wellness of our community, also have a dominoes effect to improve the health of our wombs, improve the health of our babies, improve the health of our community and our future generations, right? I gave a brief slide of the complexity as it relates to the history, as it relates here specifically in the United States, as research shows that structural racism has the impact of the outcomes of Black maternal health. As you see, structural racism as it relates to redlining, the GI Bill, those different factors, and how that also impacts generational wealth. How it impacts education. It's just so many different things involved. So therefore, once again, it truly takes a village for everyone to be involved in all those different aspects to improve Black maternal health, but also to improve the overall health and wellness of the Black and Brown community as a whole. So one question I have here collectively is, how may you and your community support Black maternal health? Yes, a doula has a lot of research shows to support birthing individuals, but also you have a role. How can you support the health and wellness of your community to support the babies that are being birthed in the world, and also for the birthing individuals who will birth babies into our community? Next slide, please. And as we come to a close, just specifically with the presentation, I ask you to subscribe to villagesisdoula.com to stay up to date about different activities and stay up to date about what we're doing with Village Sis Doula to support our community, not only to support the wombs of the babies being born in our community, but also about methods to improve your health and wellness. It truly takes a village, so I love partnering with other individuals in our community who are improving our health, our wellness, and our mindset too as well. Support Black maternal health. As I mentioned, there's a different areas how you can get involved. And also spread the word about what a birth worker and what a doula is, right? The more you speak about it, the more people will be interested, the more birthing individuals will be interested in knowing and having a doula. And also it will also even for insurance companies to say, hey, this is something that's needed. We provide in-person doula care, and we also provide virtual doula care, because also there are deserts, right? You haven't heard of food deserts, but also there are like medical deserts, a need where it's challenging to get access to medical care. So having virtual services has also been beneficial for those individuals who are looking for doula support, and also looking for someone in their community who looks like them to provide them for support before, during, and after having a beautiful baby, okay? So those are just some of the asks that I have here. And before I end with the presentation, I briefly want to explain that there are different types of doulas. There's a birth doula, a postpartum doula, a fertility doula, a bereavement doula. There's so many different types of doulas. So just giving you clarity as what a doula is, and that there are different types of doulas, and that we need more doulas, specifically Black and Brown doulas, to support, uplift, and love on our birthing individuals. And I am complete with my presentation today, sis. Thank you.
So much came up. I've been jotting down notes and jotting down talking points, things that definitely came up for me. I think I would love to take off with that last question. I think one of the things that stuck out the most for me in the conversation and in the listing of the reasons why we are where we are right now in this community, and in this conversation, the two things that stuck out the most for me were the implicit biases, and that, in considering myself to be a myth buster, story changer, trauma transformer, story transformer, people really need to get out of their heads that I know that we have developed our own image of Black women can endure anything, we can take anything, but that there is one of those things that has it in the minds of the people that are in, like that one thing alone. If that doctor that is taught from the Eastern medicine could grasp that it's not about a color, it's if someone is telling you that they are in pain and you hear that one thing alone, that is the one thing that anyone training out in the medical field, if they could, I don't know what it is, because we all have different blockages or stoppages or our own preconceived notions or our stereotypes, whatever we want to call it. We can call it so many different things, but what it is non-workability. It gets in the way of the care that's being given. So that was one of the hugest things that stuck out for me. And then the structural racism. As I had mentioned in our short conversation beforehand, I had trained as a community doula. And my experience during that time frame, it required me to have a lot of mental, spiritual, and emotional groundedness and healing. Which I can't even say in that space I had all of those things. So it made it a little bit heart-wrenching and difficult. I took away from you saying that you don't advocate, that you teach them to advocate, and I think that was so valuable. That would have been a valuable thing for me to understand in that moment, because my training came from an advocacy group. So you were kind of taught from a way of being an advocate, which I'm not a fighter. And I think that's what really killed my spirit. It was like, I can't do this because this system is ugly. And sometimes you are forced to advocate in certain spaces and places, depending on where you are and depending on how much voice they're giving your client, or taking away from your client, I should say. So what has been some of the hugest challenges that you have seen in your path on being a doula? Like, what has gotten in your way? What has been some of the hurdles that you had to jump over with and for your clients?
Wow, that's a great question, right? Because when you say the challenges, I think, even as a birth worker itself, this is not an easy job. It's not an easy mission. I won't say job, I say mission, right? Because you have your reason why, and that's what pushes you through, for personally, right, to be on this mission, but also for your clients too as well. I think right now, I know there's a lot of momentum going on for change, to provide more doula work. As I said, different all need to be at the table, at different tables, and supporting these endeavors. But gosh, wow, personally, right? Because holding space for individuals, for birthing individuals, holding that space, that energy required for that. So to answer your question, I have to remind myself of my reason why, and also understanding that leaning into my village for support, right? Because some studies show as relates to doulas, burnout is real too as well. So leaning into your village for your support for your clients, and it's okay. And also, this is a work of advocacy, but also empowering my clients to empower themselves to advocate for themselves, right? I strive not to speak for my clients, but empowering them to speak for themselves. And also being empowered if you have a doctor or a nurse and you don't feel comfortable with the energy or how they're treating you, be empowered to find another medical team that's there to support you. The lives of yourself and your baby is very important, but not only when you birth your baby, but also bringing up that baby, being a parent, instilling those empowerment in yourself to be able, even when that baby's 3, 5, 10, being still empowered to advocate for yourself. And also not only for myself, right, my sister, myself, but knowing my clients, you're not alone. Opening up and asking for help. I have an 8-month-old here, and I was sharing with you lessons learned, right? Asking for help, especially for Black women, too, as well. Even research states that strong Black woman, right? That is killing us. Being open and receptive to saying, no, sis, I need help. I don't have all this. That strong Black woman, actually, there's research and articles as it state to that. That is killing us too as well. That is also damaging to our womb to give life, not only in birth form, but life in us in general. So I did share that my beautiful baby here, I'm a fertility doula, and I help so many clients conceive, but I had to heal my womb and those blockages inside of me. And I'm still growing. I'm not healed. I'm healing, not healed. There we go. So still learning and asking for help. So to answer your question, it goes different ways. But I would say that especially as it relates to the Black woman, that strong Black woman mentality, right? Asking for help, being open, knowing you have a village, knowing you're not alone. You know, I even had a doula, and I have doula, birth worker, village sisters such as yourself who are amazing. And open up and being vulnerable and say, sis, I need help today. Remind me to stand in my power, right? So you have to fuel yourself in order to fuel others, right? So for me, being open and receptive also gives me the tools to help other women to understand that, hey, I can be empowered and stand in myself, heal my womb, and support the lives that I bring in the world, too, as well. And as you spoke of pain, my baby girl starting to wake up. As it relates to the history in our culture, I didn't speak about this, but the gynecology, the history of gynecology here in America is terrible. It's dark. How Black women don't feel pain. They would do all those different research and things on us as women here in America with no type of pain relief because we have no pain tolerance. So also, there's a dark history behind that. I invite you to also look into that history. So when you look at these numbers and these outcomes, you would grasp more of an insight of the complexities that it has here in America. Why those numbers, the data and all that statistics are there. There's a lot of layers behind that. So that's why it truly takes a village. And it also takes for a birth worker to work on your own healing too as well. And I am complete.
You know what came up for me, sis, while you were talking? Because I love that. I love your tagline because it's more than a tagline, and I can hear it, and I can hear the purpose in it. And I was just sitting here and I'm thinking to myself that it truly, truly, truly takes a village. And before I go to the other side of that, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that it even takes a village of our ancestors to get the momentum that it is that we need. You know, starting with a life that we still have, who is now carrying her second baby, but she's the voice that actually really, and it's ridiculous, this country that we live in, that it takes celebrity to actually do something or to move something. But thank you to Serena Williams out there for standing up for herself and then for other women behind her by sharing the story. Then we have Dr. Shanice Wallace, who was fighting this good fight, and still they let her lay on a table and leave us. And our good sis Shamani, as well as Amber, just wanting to bring their names into the space and acknowledge that without that village of women and ancestors, we don't even know where this work would be. So I'm grateful for their lives that are no longer here with us in the physical plane, but are fighting hard by side with us in the spiritual realm. So just also wanting to acknowledge that that village, like you said, can look like so many different things. This is artists that are helping mothers heal through painting or creating something. There's so many ways that I've been thinking lately how much because we're not taught as Americans to really think out, or people really, how to think outside of the box. We tend to stay in the safe and comfort zones of whatever it is that we're involved in. But sort of like how that chart that you put up, and how you mentioned, and Athenia even mentioned in the chat, that that's such a relatable source. Like that can be related to so many different things in our society, in our community. It can be used as a source. So with that being said, that's the same thing with all of our gifts. We can literally figure out how to purpose them for whatever space we decide to walk in or assist in. Wanting to point that out. And then wanting to kind of go to the conversation around a medical team that looks like me. So I do want to take a little bit of a moment to share my birth story, because it's kind of, so being a doula had always kind of tugged at me before I even had a baby. I did find out during my journey that I am actually more of a bereavement and death doula than a birth doula. There's beauty in allowing, especially with elders, to transition. So yeah, like you mentioned, there are a lot of doulas. But so my birth story is that I did have a Black woman doctor at Harlem Hospital deliver my son. But I'm so grateful for my elder. I don't know where she was from. I don't know if she was African or West Indian, because in my giving birth brain, I could not detect at all. But I just knew it was one of those different spaces and places that she came from, or lands, I should say. But if it wasn't for my midwife, I don't know what my birth story would be. I was told while pushing and squeezing that if I continued to squeeze, that she was going to push him back in and cut me open. That was devastating, because number one, I couldn't understand what I was actually doing wrong. I did not have any doula. I did not take what is it that they call when you're taking the
Childbirth
class.
education.
I didn't do any of those. I just had my doctor that I would go to on a regular basis, and she was pretty open and asked me a lot of like personal questions, and we had a decent relationship, I thought, or I felt. And but then she wasn't my birth doctor. It was doctor on duty. So with that being said, the midwife then said, "Mommy," because I think she saw and could feel everything I felt, and she's like, "Mommy, just push like it's the biggest I've ever took." And I'm like, "Oh, so you want me to just use a body function?" If she would have said this a long time ago, I would have been there. And it was like he was here in 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes of that midwife just taking control of the space and of the room and of the energy in the room. And the next thing I know, the kid was here. And I'm always so grateful for that midwife, because she saved me in that moment. I don't know what space and place I was going to, because I was already a very strange mother, because it was like, what is that slimy thing? Like, yeah, he's cute. Yeah, take him, clean him up, and bring him back. I was not one of those mothers that was like, give me my baby. I was like, what is that? Like, it was just totally, yeah, I'll just say this much. It's a beautiful experience, but it is definitely something out of this world. And us women, we are amazing. But yes, that is my birth story. And I'm so grateful. But again, compassion, empathy, and just a little bit of patience would go such a long way if the medical if and then I'm not saying all medical doctors are that way, but if the doctors could just grasp that it is a person and not a case, not a file, not a folder, not a birth that you just want to finish so that you could get to your family on the weekend. It's none of that. This is actually a person giving birth to another person that is going to do something in this world. So they deserve every moment that's theirs in that space and time. Like, not to be rushed and forced or pushed or just handled callously. And those small things can go such a long way. So, community out there, what is it that you are taking away from today's conversation? What is it that you'd like to contribute to today's conversation? Sabrina said that that was a beautiful presentation, and I believe I saw Darnice and Z up top say hello. Hey, ladies. Um, yeah, yeah. This work definitely deserves a moment of silence and just a space to breathe, for anyone out there who has had a birth story that wasn't smooth and easy, or who didn't have the fortunate blessing of having a doula by your side. Share, drop it in the chats. Let us know what's going on out there. Yeah. So, what does the future look like for Village Sis Doula? I know you shared that you help women with fertility, and we spoke beforehand that you have a testimony, baby. You did share that you healed your womb, and what does healing your womb look like for folks out there
Yes.
who may not know what that looks like?
Yeah, so I love working with my clients. Village to Stool is not only about birthing a baby alive, but birthing life inside of you, right? So at Village to Stool, we have different programs and also partnering with different individuals in the community to provide different types of health and wellness opportunities, such as kinetic yoga, deep breathing, journaling, gardening. Those are all different techniques that are healing and also resonate with our culture and our spirit, right? As we shared with that diagram, our community has been through a lot. We are very resilient, creative, beautiful people, but we need those different healing tools. So, healing your womb, what does that look like? And for me, I say I am healing, I'm not healed, right? So I'm learning to also give myself more grace to as well, but honoring what you put in your body and what is surrounded by your body. So what you're putting in your body, what does that look like? What type of food are you eating? Are the food you're eating, is that truly serving you, right? A lot of information is here and marketed about the food that we put in your body and how the food is produced too as well, how to grow your own food. I've even had classes and demonstrations of how to grow your own food, how different herbs can be beneficial for you too as well. If you eat meat, it's okay. Okay, just moderation. Be educated. Education is powerful, right? So I brought that up because even preparing different plant-based food that tastes good and how it can serve you. So healing your womb, being intentional of what you put in your body, what you put on your body. A lot of products we use have a lot of impacts the hormones in our body, the estrogen levels. That can also impact your fertility and also just the overall health of your body. So healing your womb can also look like what you put in your body, what you put on your body, and what you surround your body with too as well. So being empowered to release what don't serve you. That can look like your environment, that can look like your job, that can look like your relationships, that can look like what is it that is truly serving you, and being empowered to listen to your body. So wait a minute, your body will tell you something don't feel right. I drank that cup of milk, my body didn't like it. Or I was around someone and their energy didn't feel right? Now I'm not saying to as well, I'm still healing. No, I'm not saying leave your job. But also, okay, you know where I'm going with this. But being empowered how to advocate for yourself in those different spaces too as well. Now I'm just speaking from my standpoint. Our culture say strong Black woman, you can do all this, that, the other. No, it's okay to say no. It's okay to set your healthy boundaries. It's okay to be able to be empowered to release what does not serve you, right? So even if you're in those spaces, how can you still be empowered, right? How can you relieve that stress and tension in your body, even if you're in a space that's not serving you? Deep breathing, tapping, your mindset. What are some of those things that you can do to empower yourself in those different settings? And I will share my beautiful baby. She's teaching me so much. She will teach me to be still, just even in nursing her. Like, I got to be still and be in the moment right now. I've had to pull over before, but but I needed to pull over just to breathe too as well. So one of the lessons I am healing, even with my daughter, healing your womb. I had to heal my womb to bring her into the world, and she's teaching me to be still, to breathe, to pull over sometime, and also being empowered to release what doesn't serve me to allow growth in different areas. And I am complete. Thank you, sis.
You are so welcome. I love that. I love that. I love that. You know, we this conversation of self-love comes up a lot in this space and healing, and I love that you correct yourself and say that you're healing, because I have it that as on this journey of healing, I don't think any of us will ever be, especially us women that look like you and I don't think we'll ever be completely healed or completely transformed or completely full grown. Like, as long as we show up for it, I believe that we'll continue to heal. Something that we don't even know needs healing is going to pop up when you feel like you're healed, because that's the way it's worked for me thus far. It's like, I can remember the first time I got to this plateau of feeling and connecting with like what groundedness actually was, and it was like, oh, I've arrived, I'm here. And it was like, boom, fell right back down. And it's like, and in that space, something else that comes up for me is giving grace. Giving grace to self, giving grace to others, giving grace to, because I have it that it's the grace that we don't give ourselves that keeps us in that position of being that strong Black woman. When you give yourself grace, you then give yourself permission to ask for support. Give yourself permission to not as strong as you think you are, or to even admit it to yourself. But when you're not in a space of giving grace, you're in a space of self-judgment. You're in a space of judgment of others, which then gets in all the way of the healing. It gets in all the way of all the good stuff for us. And it really just serves us to find that level of self-love that is being supported through grace, and that looks like everything that you shared, considering your diet, considering your circumstance surroundings, considering your relationships, considering it all, and willing to do, just gotta go here and say rest in peace to our sister Tina Turner. I shared with the community yesterday and with my Instagram community that she was one of the first women that like put their foot down, was a no more woman for me. I mean, of course we had, people in history that we knew of that were great, but in somebody that was tangible, that I actually watched while I was growing up get bigger and bigger and grow bigger and bigger and do these big concerts out in places and spaces. And then at that point I knew her before I knew her. And then once I found out her story, she's one of the people who empowered me to seek healing, to seek groundedness, and to get on the journey for the quest of peace. It was her who introduced spiritualism to me. I don't think even before that I understood what spiritualism is until we saw her sitting in that mirror, chanting. And with that being said, we just got to continue to do the work. We got to stick together. We got to do it as a village from all of these different positions. So many of us play so many different roles and wear so many different hats. It's about just learning how to switch them off so easily. Like, even how I could hear that ease. And when you said, yeah, I used to pull over, but it sounds different now. Like, the pullover is like, yeah, it's like no resistance. It's like, before it was like pull over because you have to. Now it's pull over because you choose to.
Yes.
And to be in that space with her precious face. Are we going to get the honor of seeing that face today? Our testimony baby.
Yes, she is sleeping in my arms.
Aww.
I'm going to push her up slowly.
Is she? Sorry, baby.
That's fine. And even the wrap I have on is a baby carrier. So I teach my...
Oh, I love it.
And it makes it even more flexible to nurse your baby too as well. One thing I was sharing is we should not be apologetic for being a mom. If you need to nurse your baby, cuddle your baby, you don't need to say I'm sorry. Right? That's that village love to give support of, hey, how can I support you, right? So my village baby is right, my mini me, right? I'm gonna bring her up.
Oh my
Hey,
goodness.
he's like, what is going
The
on?
face. Oh my goodness. I
So
love the
this is my
face.
tangible reminder of how it's important to continue to keep healing, right? And releasing stress in all parts of your body, because even stress increases cortisol in your body that can lead to all fibroids, cancer, hypertension, high cholesterol. So this is just tangible reminder that God sent me to continue healing. Part of my reason why for Village Sis Doula, to continue the work that I do and to lean into my village more so I can continue to do the mission of Village Sis Doula for our community with our village, not for our village, but with our village.
Ashe. Ashe and amen. And sis, I have two last questions for you. So the first one being, what just surmise for the community today what you'd like them to walk away with from today's conversation. And then can you follow that up with what exactly does Juneteenth mean to you?
And what was your last statement?
So the first one is just sum up like what you'd like the community to walk away with. And then the second thing is, what does Juneteenth mean to you?
Wow. To sum up for today, that's a great question. We touched on so many different topics, right? For me, I would say, I continue to say it truly, truly takes a village. And I emphasize truly because the older you get or the more you learn, the more you realize that. So, with that, truly takes a village is that giving yourself grace, allowing yourself heal, allowing yourself to be vulnerability and the strength in asking and also recognizing that the truth as it relates to that too as well. And I hope that just through the presentation, you see the complexity as it relates to our Black and Brown community, how it's going to take all of us, right, to heal that generational trauma that has been built, especially as Black and Brown individuals in this community. And healing looks different, and it goes up and down, and give yourself grace for that. So takeaway is it truly takes a village, right? I hope I shine light on the significance of that. And Juneteenth, what does that mean? Wow, that's powerful as relates, as I mentioned before, the history in our country, right? For me, it means empowerment, it means resilience, it means strength, it means our ancestors, it means the reason why I do what I do, and so lives can continue to be supported in the wombs of our birthing individuals for our future and our community, of our ancestors, of our history, of our babies, and for our continuous wellness and growth in our community. And I am complete.
Ashe, thank you so much, sis. It's always a pleasure to have any of my sisters in this space with me, and always shamelessly plugging Be the Tree. This I often speak of the Women's Collective, Healing Collective that I am a part of, and Cassey is one of my sisters on that journey, and it's always a pleasure to have one of you in this space. And I'll share that you're the first one to use our language of being complete, and I really love it. And I, you know, I'll work it out. It'll come down the line. But I think I'm gonna work it into the show. We'll be doing a little revamping after Juneteenth comes up, and yeah, that's definitely gonna be an ad that I'm gonna add in there. So thank you for bringing that into the space, and thank you for your lovely energy and that beautiful, beautiful testimony, baby. And I will see you backstage shortly.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, community, community, community. I really hope you enjoyed today's conversation. For next week's guest, give me one moment. I actually don't have the information as of yet, but we'll be dropping the information in the groups and all over the YouTube and different places and spaces, email boxes over the next days. And if you are not registered yet for Juneteenth coming up, please register. Don't forget we have the virtual summit on Friday. That's all about health, wellness, and finance. And then we also have Linden Park out on Saturday in Brooklyn, and then Prospect Park on Sunday, and also a great rally and parade that's going to open up. She will be giving us an update on how she and her business have been since the last time she was on the show. So that's Deborah Casanova. I'm not sure, my screen blanked out. I'm not sure if you guys heard me, but if not, that is who will be here with us. And as always, it's an honor to have you here with us. Thank you for dropping by. Thank you for spending your lunch with us. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Greetings, and good afternoon, Juneteenth family. Welcome to another weekly edition of our Lunch and Learn.
E is exhaling, having an opportunity to breathe, to rest, to refill yourself and rejuvenate yourself, because no one can pour from an empty cup.
As you evolve and become more of yourself, you begin to attract the people that are there for you.
Amen.
So everything you need is in this space.
You have to learn from your mistakes. Once you make a mistake, oops, sit down, recoup, and then start over. And once you do that, you say, I got that.
See, Juneteenth means to me, I would definitely say empowerment and education.
When I experience it, it's like just coming together and, being a part of something bigger than myself, And
A new start, starting a new chapter, opportunity, new beginnings, all of that good stuff.